If you are a man over 50 walking every single day for exercise thinking you are losing belly fat, protecting your joints, and improving your heart health, you need to stop and watch this right now. Because these 5 walking mistakes after 50 are silently destroying your knees, wrecking your posture, spiking your blood sugar, shrinking your brain, and could be the reason you are not losing weight no matter how many steps per day you are hitting. As a doctor, I see men over 50 making these exact walking errors every single day, and nobody is warning them. Mistake number 4 is the one that shocked me the most because it connects your daily walk directly to diabetes risk, joint pain, and even cognitive decline, and almost no fitness channel has ever explained it. Whether you walk 10,000 steps a day or just walk for 30 minutes a day for weight loss, every single one of these mistakes applies to you. Do not skip ahead because I structured this video so that each mistake builds on the last, and the final one changes everything you thought you knew about walking for longevity and healthy aging after 50. Let us get into it. You are walking like your skeleton does not matter. Here is something that is going to make you uncomfortable the next time you take a walk around the neighborhood. Most people over 50 walk with their head pushed forward, their shoulders rounded, and their eyes glued to the ground about 3 feet in front of them. You might think this is just a cosmetic issue, something that makes you look a little older than you are. But the science behind this is terrifying. Researchers at New York Spine Surgery and Rehabilitation Medicine published findings showing that for every single inch your head shifts forward from its neutral position over your spine, you add roughly 10 to 12 additional pounds of force on your cervical vertebrae. Now think about that. The average human head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. If your head is jutting forward just 2 inches while you walk, and most people over 50 have at least that much forward head posture, your neck is now bearing the equivalent of 30 to 36 pounds of constant gravitational load. That is like strapping a medium-sized dog around your neck and going for a stroll every single day for years. And then we wonder why people develop degenerative disc disease, chronic neck pain, and cervicogenic headaches as they age. You are literally grinding your spine into dust one walk at a time. But here is where it gets even more interesting, and I need you to pay close attention because this next part connects to something much bigger. There is a second element to this posture mistake that almost nobody discusses, and it involves your arms. Yes, your arms. Most people over 50 either keep their arms stiff at their sides, shove their hands in their pockets, or worst of all, hold their phone in front of their face the entire walk. Researchers at the University of Michigan published a fascinating study showing that natural arm swing during walking is not just some leftover evolutionary quirk. It actively reduces the metabolic cost of walking by roughly 10%. It stabilizes your trunk and pelvis, and it plays a critical role in balance and coordination. Now here is the part that should send a chill down your spine. And I mean that literally. A 2019 study published in the journal Gait and Posture confirmed that diminished or asymmetric arm swing is one of the earliest detectable clinical markers of Parkinson's disease, sometimes appearing years before any tremor or other obvious symptom. I am not saying that if you walk with stiff arms you have Parkinson's. What I am saying is that your arm swing is a window into your neurological health, and deliberately training yourself to swing your arms naturally and symmetrically while walking is not vanity. It is neuroprotection. So fix number 1 is simple. Stand tall. Pull your chin back so your ears line up directly over your shoulders. Let your arms swing naturally, opposite arm to opposite leg, like a relaxed pendulum. And for the love of your cervical spine, put the phone in your pocket. The text messages will survive 10 more minutes without your attention. Your vertebrae might not. Now, that first mistake is bad enough on its own. But the second one? This is where most people over 50 are being actively lied to by popular fitness culture, and the truth might actually make you angry. The step count scam and the speed secret hiding in plain sight. Let me ask you a question. How many steps are you trying to hit every day? 10,000. If you said 10,000, I need you to know something. That number, the sacred 10,000 steps per day that has been drilled into everyone's brain, did not come from any medical study. It did not come from the World Health Organization. It did not come from any cardiologist or any university research lab. It came from a 1965 Japanese marketing campaign for a pedometer called the Monpa, which literally translates to 10,000 step meter. A company needed a catchy name for their product, picked a nice round number, and 60 years later the entire Western world is still chasing that number like it is gospel truth. That is marketing, not medicine. Now here is what the actual science says, and this is fresh data. A landmark 2022 study published in the Lancet Public Health, one of the most prestigious medical journals on Earth, analyzed data from over 47,000 adults and found that for adults over 60, the mortality benefit of walking essentially plateaus at around 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day. Going beyond 8,000 steps per day for people in this age group did not significantly reduce the risk of death any further. Let that sink in. You have been killing yourself trying to hit 10,000 steps, feeling guilty on the days you only got 7,000, and the research says 7,000 was more than enough. You were already in the optimal zone and you did not even know it. But before you celebrate and decide to park yourself on the couch, there is a critical nuance here that most people miss entirely. And this is the part that could genuinely save your life. It is not just about how many steps you take. It is about how fast you take them. Geriatricians, the doctors who specialize in aging, have a term they use among themselves. They call walking speed the sixth vital sign. Right alongside your blood pressure, heart rate, temperature, respiratory rate, and oxygen saturation, your walking speed is considered a fundamental indicator of how long you are going to live. A major 2011 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association analyzed nearly 35,000 older adults and found that gait speed independently predicts survival. The cutoff they identified was approximately 0.8 meters per second, or roughly 1.8 miles per hour. Adults over 65 who consistently walked slower than that threshold had significantly higher mortality rates from all causes. Meanwhile, those who walked at 1.0 meters per second or faster, roughly 2.2 miles per hour, consistently outlived the predictions of standard life expectancy tables. Your walking speed is literally forecasting your future. Now I am not telling you to sprint through your neighborhood like you are being chased. What I am telling you is that a leisurely, aimless shuffle is not exercise. It is transportation. If you want your walking to actually protect your heart, preserve your muscle mass, and extend your lifespan, you need to walk with intention. You need to walk at a pace where you can still hold a conversation, but you would rather not. That is the sweet spot. That is where the magic happens. And speaking of magic, or more accurately the lack of it, the third and fourth mistakes are ones that are sabotaging everything we just talked about. The third one has to do with what is on your feet and what is under your feet. And the fourth, the one I warned you about at the beginning, has to do with when you walk and how you breathe while doing it. And I promise you, the fourth one is going to make you rethink your entire daily routine. But first, let us talk about your shoes, because what I am about to tell you goes against everything the shoe industry wants you to believe. Oh, and real quick, if you are finding this information valuable, do me a favor. Just drop the word active in the comments below. Not only does it help this video reach more people who need to hear this, but it also gets you my free 30-day workout plan built specifically for men over 50. It is a thank you for being here and actually caring about your health. Now, back to your feet. The shoe deception and the terrain trap that is erasing your balance. This one is going to ruffle some feathers, especially if you just spent $150 on the latest pair of ultra-cushioned walking shoes. Here is what the shoe industry does not want you to know. Those thick, heavily cushioned, maximalist shoes that feel like walking on clouds, they might actually be making your feet weaker, your balance worse, and your fall risk higher over time. Researchers at Harvard University's Skeletal Biology Lab, led by Dr. Daniel Lieberman, have published extensive research showing that modern cushioned footwear fundamentally changes the biomechanics of how your foot interacts with the ground. When you wear heavily cushioned shoes, your foot does not need to do the work of shock absorption. The shoe does it for you. And just like a muscle that is never used eventually atrophies, the intrinsic muscles of your foot, the 20-plus small muscles that control arch stability, toe grip, and proprioceptive feedback, gradually weaken when they are constantly coddled by 3 inches of synthetic foam. A 2020 study published in the journal Scientific Reports found that older adults who spent more time in minimalist or less cushioned footwear had measurably stronger foot muscles and better balance performance on clinical tests compared to those who wore traditional supportive shoes. Now, I am not telling you to go run barefoot on concrete tomorrow morning. That would be reckless and potentially harmful, especially if you have been wearing cushioned shoes for decades. What I am telling you is that gradually incorporating some time in firmer, flatter footwear, even just around the house, can help rebuild the foot strength that years of cushy shoes have stolen from you. But the shoe issue is only half of this mistake. The other half is about where you walk, and this is where the science gets really fascinating. If your daily walk looks the same every single day, the same flat sidewalk, the same paved path, the same smooth surface, you are making a critical error that is quietly destroying one of the most important systems in your body, your vestibular and proprioceptive system. This is the complex network of sensors in your inner ear, your joints, and the soles of your feet that tells your brain where your body is in space. It is the system that keeps you from falling. And here is the brutal truth. If you do not challenge it, you lose it. A 2021 study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that older adults who regularly walked on varied and uneven terrain, things like grass, gravel paths, gentle trails, and soft dirt, showed significantly better balance, ankle stability, and reduced fall risk compared to those who walked exclusively on flat, paved surfaces. Every time your foot lands on an uneven surface, thousands of mechanoreceptors in your foot fire signals to your brain, forcing it to constantly recalculate and adjust. That is a neurological workout. Walking on a perfectly flat sidewalk does not provide that stimulus. It is the equivalent of doing bicep curls with no weight. The motion is there, but the challenge is gone. And here is a bonus that nobody talks about. Varying your walking route, not just the terrain but the actual path itself, has cognitive benefits that flat, repetitive walks simply cannot match. Researchers at the University of Calgary published findings in 2023 showing that navigating novel environments activates the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory, and one of the first areas affected by Alzheimer's disease. Walking the same route every day becomes so automatic that your brain essentially goes on autopilot. But walking a new route, even in your own neighborhood, forces your hippocampus to engage, map the environment, and form new spatial memories. You are literally building Alzheimer's resistance with every unfamiliar turn you take. So mix up your surfaces. Walk on grass. Find a gentle trail. Explore a new neighborhood. Challenge your feet and challenge your brain at the same time. Your future self will thank you. Now, we have arrived at the final section, and this is the one I told you about at the very beginning. This is the mistake that disturbed me the most when I found the research, because it is something that almost every single person over 50 is getting wrong, and the consequences are far more serious than anyone realizes. This is about when you walk and how you breathe while you do it. And I need your full attention for this, because the next 3 minutes could fundamentally change your health trajectory. The timing blunder and the breathing betrayal that are undoing everything. Let me set this up with a question. When do you usually go for your walk? First thing in the morning? Lunchtime? After dinner? Most people do not think about this at all. They walk whenever it is convenient and assume the benefit is the same regardless. But a groundbreaking 2023 study published in the journal Diabetologia revealed something that should change the way every person over 50 plans their day. Researchers found that short walks taken within 60 to 90 minutes after a meal, particularly after dinner, reduced post-meal blood glucose spikes by up to 30% more effectively than a single longer walk taken at a random time during the day. 30%. That is not a minor improvement. For the millions of people over 50 who are pre-diabetic or insulin resistant, many of whom do not even know it yet, the timing of your walk could be the difference between developing type 2 diabetes and avoiding it entirely. Here is why this matters so much. After you eat, your blood sugar rises. That is normal. But in people over 50, the insulin response that is supposed to bring that blood sugar back down becomes less efficient. It is a natural part of aging, but it is dramatically accelerated by inactivity after meals. When you eat dinner and then sit on the couch watching television for 3 hours, your blood sugar stays elevated for far longer than it should. That prolonged elevation causes glycation, which is a process where excess sugar molecules attach to proteins in your blood and form what are called advanced glycation end products. These compounds are inflammatory, they damage blood vessels, they accelerate skin aging, and they are directly implicated in the progression of cardiovascular disease, kidney damage, and cognitive decline. The medical community has a very unflattering nickname for these molecules. They call them AGEs, advanced glycation end products, and the acronym is fitting because they literally age you from the inside out. But a simple 10 to 15-minute walk after your largest meal, particularly dinner, acts like a natural insulin booster. Your muscles start contracting. They pull glucose directly out of your bloodstream for fuel without even needing insulin to do it, and your blood sugar comes down faster, cleaner, and more efficiently. It is one of the most powerful, most underutilized, and most free medical interventions available to any human being over 50. And almost nobody is doing it because nobody told them the timing mattered. Now here is the other half of this final mistake, and this is the part that genuinely shocked me. It is about how you breathe while you walk. Most people over 50 walk with their mouth open, breathing through their mouth the entire time, especially when they start to pick up the pace. It seems harmless. Air is air, right? Wrong. And the science on this is not even controversial anymore. It is well established. Nasal breathing during low to moderate intensity exercise like walking activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and recover mode. It regulates your heart rate variability. It optimizes oxygen exchange through a mechanism involving nitric oxide production in the nasal sinuses, and it keeps cortisol levels from spiking unnecessarily. A 2018 study published in the International Journal of Exercise Science found that nasal breathing during moderate exercise improved oxygen delivery efficiency by approximately 5 to 10% compared to mouth breathing. But here is the part that nobody tells you. Mouth breathing during your walk does the exact opposite. It activates the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. It increases cortisol production, elevates your resting heart rate, and puts your body into a mild stress state that persists even after the walk is over. So you go for a relaxing walk, breathe through your mouth the entire time, and come home with higher stress hormones than when you left. You thought you were de-stressing. Your body thought it was being chased by a predator. Congratulations, you played yourself. The fix is elegantly simple. Breathe in through your nose, out through your nose, for the entirety of your walk. If you cannot maintain nasal breathing at your current pace, that is not a sign that nasal breathing does not work. It is a sign that you are walking too fast for your current fitness level. Slow down to the speed where nasal breathing feels comfortable and train at that pace. Over weeks and months, your capacity will increase, and you will be able to walk faster while still breathing exclusively through your nose. This is how you build aerobic efficiency. This is how you protect your nervous system. And this is how a simple daily walk transforms from a mediocre activity into a genuine longevity tool. I will send you my completely free 30-day workout plan designed specifically for men above 50.